Hey guys, I'm going to be walking you through how to use the stroke panel today. Super easy panel to work with, a lot of really cool options. I'll go through a few of them for you, and then also remember that as we're doing all of this, your contextual menu bar is changing. So you do have some of these stroke options available to you as you click through and use some of the software. So all right, let's get to it. Right here we have a line that's drawn with a stroke. Right now that stroke weight, I can see it in my stroke panel right here, is 1 point. It also is 1 point over here in the contextual menu bar. So if I increase this so we can see it better, I now have a 14-point stroke. It is indeed still a singular line, not a closed path like we were talking about in previous videos. So I have a purple stroke, 14 points. Let's talk about some of the ending caps and corner options that you have, as well as how we want to align the stroke. So a couple options, you have your standard butt cap. After that, you have a round cap, which will round the ends off. And you also have the projecting cap, which keeps it the same distance on the outside of the point as it is on the outside of the line. So you see that the line is here. The distance here is 7 points, and the distance from here to the end is 7 points. A standard stroke just ends at the end, but this gives you kind of a more unified square. And then we get into some corner options, and so for some corner options, I'm just going to draw a geometric shape. And you get into some corner options where you can go through and click rounded join, and it will go through and round the edges. You can also do beveled edges. Probably suggest not doing this one, but notice that this is different, guys, than clicking, let me go back here to this one, than clicking this option to round the edges. This is going to round the inside as well, right? So we have to be paying attention to that. If we choose rounded, that's only rounding the outside. I'm going to get tongue-tied saying rounded. After that, we have a couple of options where we can align the stroke. Right now, the stroke is set to center. So meaning if it's a 14-point stroke, we have 7 points of that stroke on one side of the line and an equal 7 points on the other side of the line. If I set that to align to the inside, all 14 points are now sitting on the inside of the stroke. And if I set it to the outside, all 14 points are set to the outside. I still have my rounded corner on, so I'm going to turn that off real quick. This is especially good to note because there are times where you want something to get really close to the stroke and you want to have multiple effects applied to it. Being able to set some strokes to the outside, some strokes to the inside gives you a little bit of flexibility. I'm going to put it back to center for the time being and then show you guys the dashed feature as well as the profile feature. So the dashed feature gives me the opportunity to go through and create a dashed line. And I'm going to reduce down the stroke here so we can see it. So I have a 4-point stroke with a 12-point long dash. If I change the dash to 4 points, that's going to be 4 points and 4 points of stroke. Now, we can't see anything really because we are right on top of each other. But the next step here is to set the spacing or the gap. So if I set 4 points and 4 points, that means I'm going to have a 4-point stroke, 4-point gap, and then a 4-point dash. I need to double this in order to really see anything. Okay, so now I essentially have a 4-point width here. I think it's because I have the end cap set to all the way out. So if I set this to 4 and 4, again, you should see that now, right? If I do my rounded caps, I end up with these like pills. Set the gaps to 8. Come on, set it to 8. There we go. We get some unique features, right? I can turn off the dashed line and I can set things like arrowheads. So if I come down here to arrowheads, I can choose which arrow I want. And it will set an arrowhead to it, and it also will set an end to it, right? So some of these features are a little bit obnoxious, and you're probably not going to touch them very often, but some of these features I do use. Things like this, I use all the time, guys. I like for things to have a nice, simple touch to them. I can scale the size of the end without scaling the size of the stroke. And I'm doing that right here by just scaling down. Okay, you can use this for things like little call outs and tags to point to something. You can choose which way the arrows align. There's lots of stuff to play with here, so you guys can tinker around with that. If I go with my pen tool here, I'm just going to create a curved line between the stroke panel. And I have profile options, uniform profile. I have width profiles 1 through 6. These are the default profiles. Look at this. It gives me unique things. Like if I was drawing hair, I can make that hair look unique. If I want things to look awkward and oblong, chiseled, I have options here. I can draw where it starts at one end and stops at the other end. It gets wide at one end and thin at the other. I can do rounded ends, extended ends. I can do all sorts of stuff here. So start thin, get thick, and then start thin again. And then you end up with this one here, which kind of looks like the first one that we did, but it puts the stroke all on one side. So lots of options, lots of things to play with here. Honestly, the stroke palette here, you can hide and show these options. So if for some reason you see this palette whenever you open InDesign or Illustrator, you can click show options, and that will give you an extended version of this so you can kind of mess around with it and style strokes the way that you see fit.